you getting yourself ready for our show?
Alrighty, guys, Jigs and Bigs, we got a great episode here for you. This is going to be a little bit of a different one, too. A lot of the regular segments that you're used to hearing you may not necessarily hear this week because something unreal happened over the last 7 days, and it kind of shook our little community a little bit, and we have some thoughts we definitely want to share with you guys. We'll talk about it. Let's just pull the cover off the top. We are talking about the demise of the KFL. What happened to the Kayak Fishing League? What are our opinions on it? You know, we did spend a little time working with those dudes, so we have a lot of opinions. You'll find out all that and more coming up in a bit, guys. We also have a big announcement coming up in our third segment. A little bit of a teaser for you guys that you might want to check out. So make sure you listen all the way through, guys. We will see you in a bit. Go ahead, grab yourself something warm and delicious to enjoy. We'll see you with more Jigs and Bigs goodness right after this. Alrighty, everybody, welcome. It's Jigs and Bigs. It's another Tuesday, and I'll tell you, if there was ever a week that has hit me where it made me think, holy shit, I wish we did this daily so we could give you the most up-to-date information as things happened, it was this last week. Wow, it was kind of insane for us over here. I got out and did a little bit of fishing. I'm going to share some of that information. You can share in my tales of woe and the struggles that have been going on, but we'll deal with all that stuff. Plus, we also have, like I said, a little bit of an announcement that's coming in our third and final segment right before we wrap up. So we're going to leave that little Easter egg there for you to go back. Make sure you listen all the way through to this show. Before we get started with the weekend review and everything, I do want to mention, guys, of course, thanks to everybody who's listening. If you're listening to this for the first time, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Got a couple of jig heads in the house with us. We got Jerry Howes with us. We also have Jay Manning with us, and it's great to have him here on this early Super Bowl Sunday morning. We're recording early like this because today is probably going to be some insanity for a lot of folks, and we figured this is probably the best opportunity to record. So we'll get this sucker done. Couple of announcements that, first and foremost, if you're listening to this show and you want to support this show, there's a couple of ways that you can absolutely do so. One of those things is buying Jigs and Bigs merch. We got some great merch available at jigsandbigs.com. We're talking t-shirts, hoodies, hats. We've got a Bluetooth speaker for you over there, all with the Jigs and Bigs logo on it. We also have a couple of alternate designs for Jigs and Bigs, plus some Bobby Roast beef gear too. I've got some requests that were made by regulars of mine at my weekly events. So like you'll see like women's like joggers and stuff, like all kinds of crazy stuff. So go check it out. Like I said, a variety of hats. In fact, both Sean and myself had recently done a big order, and actually, Sean, that stuff had just shipped within the past couple of days. So what's nice is I'm fully expecting to have all of it by the time the Springfield Sportsman Show goes down. Other thing, too, if you're in the West Springfield area, if you're in Western Massachusetts, the last weekend of the month, come over to the Big E Eastern States Exposition to the Springfield Sportsman Show and check us out. We will have a booth there. We're speaking with a good friend of the show, Mike Hansen, just yesterday, and he was like, is it really worth going down? I said, it's a lot of fun, man. And then he asked, oh, well, when are you guys going to be there? I said, I'm going to be there for the whole thing. I said, anytime you want to come down. So he's going to pack up the whole family. They're all going to come down. There's stuff for the kids to do. There's stuff for everybody. It's a whole lot of fun. And if you love jerky, if you love jerky, we got you covered, brother. We got you covered with all the jerky. Also, just as a quick reminder, guys, we recently got a new review over at Apple Podcasts, and that is probably one of the greatest ways you can publicly say, hey, we appreciate this show. This is why we like it, stuff like that. So if you love Jigs and Bigs, go ahead and leave us a review. We definitely appreciate it. But, man, now that we're on that, Sean, how are you today?
I'm healing up.
Yeah. You had a little bit of a procedure.
Yeah. Hey, so for the patrons, whoever's, how many we got in here today right now? 3, 4?
Just two, right? Just Jerry and Jay, just the best, I would say.
There you go. There's some bruising. You can see all my stitches. I'm to the point now where, I could unwrap it. I had an ace bandage on there wrapped up with some gauze underneath, and I had to keep that on for really 5 days straight. And by day 5, it was so itchy. I said, screw it, and unwrapped it, rewrapped it, got a little better.
Yeah.
With
a little ointment on there.
Yeah, I did put a little this morning. Actually, I put a little. It was really itchy. Right around the tattooing I have on my arm, because the ace bandage was wrapped up almost to my shoulder.
Did it fuck up your tattoo? The surgery?
No, not at all.
No. All right. Cool. Because that's the worst.
I will say this though. I did ask the nurses before I went in for the procedure. So how big of an incision are they making? And they said, about an inch. That was determined to be a lie.
Yeah.
I have a massive 4-inch incision on my elbow. So this is healing up. It's bruising. I have some mobility. I'm airing it out right now. Hopefully it'll be ready for spring. Tomorrow looks like I'm going to get the stitches out.
Yep.
And I don't even think I have to do any physical therapy for this. It's all going to be on my own, which is good. Yeah. And then I think 4 to 6 weeks, I'm able to actually like lift and do normal shit with my arm.
Yeah.
Looking forward to getting back to normal and just in time for fishing season.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was just basketball. I mean, even with a sling on, I still had to go out and coach. And the fourth graders did me a solid yesterday. We were missing one of our key players, and they still turned in a win. One of our players that I've been keeping an eye on that just, he's on the verge. Like I'm like, is he gonna really start showing some killer instinct here? Man, dude, as my son says, the dude went ham yesterday. Dropped 11 points, which is almost half of our points. This was a rebound machine. I pulled him aside afterwards. He's all nervous. He's like, "Oh, am I doing all right, coach?" I pulled him aside afterwards. I smiled at him. I said, "You saved our asses today, right?" He started laughing. So I said, "Good.
That's awesome."
We got that going. On the high school level, we had an unfortunate big loss that took us out of contention for the conference. Left us in third place. That's how tight it was up at the top. It was either first place or third, and we finished there. Kids had a hell of a season, but unfortunately, with a small team, man, it just seems like every fourth quarter we just run out of steam with these big games, and it's my job to start filling these ranks with kids that can
hang at that level. Yeah.
Exactly.
Shit.
So year one, I definitely saw a ton of improvement with the JV squad, and I think a couple of them are going to spend a lot of time on varsity next year. So I did my job in that aspect, but it was still tough to swallow. And then on the other team that we played, they have one kid that I always like. Every coach, I think, wants one of these guys on his team. Just an unselfish, what I call glue guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy that binds everybody together. He's not dropping 20, 30 points a night.
No.
But he's getting a solid 10. His passing's phenomenal. He's getting rebounds, and he's playing defense. And after the game, it was their senior night. I went up to that kid, and I said, "Man, you are an absolute nightmare to coach against." He said, "Well, thanks." I said, "You're a senior, right?" He goes, "Yep." I said, "Thank God." Don't have to see you anymore.
Nice.
And he laughed and gave a fist bump and walked off into the sunset. But yeah, that kid murdered us twice this year, and it was miserable to see. But aside from that, Bobby, I mean, basketball, healing. My sleep has been completely fucked for a whole week.
Oh, sure.
It's impossible to sleep with the sling on. Since Monday, I got one night of sleep with more than like 4 hours.
That sucks. That's shit.
Yeah. So I've been just crashing in the middle of the day, getting 2-3 hours whenever I can. And then I did do some purchasing. So I am starting to spin up for spring.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Mentioned last week, I got a new rod. I got a new Arc Invoker that came in.
Yep.
I was at Wally World, which for our listeners for last week, I will confirm this. They do have those cream worms there. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yeah, you did mention that. That's awesome.
Yep. So Walmart was where I saw them. I picked up, I just needed a couple of midnight special spinner baits, so I grabbed those. Just little things that I know I'm going to use throughout the year and stocked up on those. And yesterday I put an order in. I put an order in on Amazon.
Okay.
For I ordered two things. Small order. I needed again, I'm really leaning heavily on making sure that I have two new spinning reels. The ones that I bought last year I buy. I think we've talked about this. I buy incredibly cheap spinning reels because I burn through them.
Yeah.
Even like there's no point to me spending $100 on a reel when it's dead. Now bait casters, different matter.
Yeah.
But with spinning reels, I buy cheap ones, and the two I bought last year did not measure up. Their drag washers all rusted out by June. Yeah, it was bad, and that was a freshwater one, a freshwater / saltwater.
Yep.
So I have found that buying cheap saltwater reels is the way to go. So I bought two cheap saltwater reels, 2,500 size. I can't even remember the brand, and we're going to see how these go this year.
There you go.
So hopefully, I've had luck with similar ones in the past.
Yep.
And I ordered those, and then I ordered something I'm working on that's kind of a top secret project that Nelson and I are putting our heads together on.
Okay.
I ordered something that was we decided to go in a different direction with this project, and more to come on that hopefully within the next year or two.
Nice.
But I think it's important enough that I keep quiet about it because it's pretty. You and I have talked about it, but I'm not going to talk about it in the air. So I'm cooking something up. Roast beef. I'm cooking something up.
Cooking some shit up. I like that. That's a good thing.
Yeah. What'd you do?
Today, this week was nuts. I had a little bit of a shorter week. I was able, I had Monday off entirely, which was kind of nice. So I dedicated that to kind of like handling the show, doing a lot of prep, getting things ready for the rest of the week. And then I looked at the weather and I saw that we were going to see a nice bump up in temperature toward Friday without any rain. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to take a day. We're going to get back on that Swift River mission that we did. Well, I ended up not going out just Friday. I did about 4 hours, and then I'd gone back on Saturday. And I fished for a total between all the spots. I fished there for about 4.5 hours, maybe 5 hours. So it was like a total of 9 hours I dedicated here. Got 2 bites.
Bites. Got 2 bites.
Bites, yeah.
February.
Yeah,
you know?
in February. And also, I mean, I'll be honest with you, my opinion is I think that ramp up in temperatures from, I was talking with another angler that was there and same situation, having like no real success. And they were fly fishing, and making a lot more, covering a lot more water than I was, certainly. I definitely verified that I had fish in front of me because I would see them rising up, hitting the surface. And, I get over to this one spot. I did try a brand new spot, and I figured, we'll just see how it is. And I bumped into a guy named Mike in the parking lot who was actually fishing this one pool where I was kind of planning on dedicating most of my time. So he said, he's over there. He's like, yeah, he goes, I hooked one. He goes, I don't know if I had a bad knot or something, but it came off. He's like, so I'm back here now so I can, basically I'm changing out rods and I'm going to retie and get ready and head, go back downstream. And he's like, I'll probably bump into you on the way back up. So, we're just a regular kind of fisherman to fisherman small talk. So I'm over in this one pool and I threw so much at them. I started with inline spinners to cover water. I started with a real natural color because that water is like painfully clear. Like it's almost invisible. It's ridiculous. So I'm throwing inline spinners in like a natural pattern, like a brown trout pattern. I switched it up later to a black and chartreuse. I had gone and switched to a fire tiger, a little bit larger of a inline spinner, so I could get a little bit more casting distance, thinking maybe I was just missing that zone where these fish were stacked up, where that current line was. So I threw on a little bit heavier of an inline spinner. They would not bite at all. Now, I will say this, out of all the open hook and treble hooked baits that I threw in this body of water, I lost one.
That's a win.
I don't know how many casts. I didn't count all of my casts, but out of all the casts that I took, I lost one. I got hung up quite a bit, but I was able to get them out that often, which I'll take as a win because there's a ton of snags in that river, tons of them. And it was definitely good. So, I was working my inline spinner, and I switched over to the tiniest floating Rapala that I had. And I threw that and I worked it super gingerly, like right as the current kind of broke and it got to be a little bit more slack water. And we had some cover, some brush piles that you could actually just see the tops of sticking out of the water, and a few laydowns and a bunch of rocks that I was just kind of working this bait strategically around. And I'm like, if there's fish over there, they're going to bite. And, I was throwing, it was a black top, like a silver body, nice little flash in the water, just did not want to take it. So then I said, all right, all the trout that I've caught this year have been on Ned rigs. I'm going to go ahead and tie on a 16th ounce Ned rig, and then I'm going to play the plastics game. We'll see what we can do. So we started with that. We started with a swim bait, something natural like what was it? Green pumpkin shiner is what I started throwing. Something that's got a little flash on the bottom. Then I went really dark, and I went with actually I put on a curly tail grub, a black curly tail grub, and that was the first bite that I knew that I was getting. And I knew that I was getting bit because I could feel the strike and I could see my line going off, and then it would just drop. And I feel like they were just grabbing the tail of the grub is what it was. And they weren't ever connecting with the hook. So I said, okay, all right. So I said, but maybe there's something to this. Maybe there's something to the black. So this is when I went back to an inline spinner and I tied on a black with a chartreuse tail inline spinner. And I threw that around and I got a good thump where I had pretty solid head shakes and he shook right off. It's like, you motherfucker. Now, I want to give a shout out to Mike. I mentioned Mike earlier, but Mike came up from downriver, came up to that pool. We were talking again. He's like, any luck? And I was like, not yet. We're just still working out though. But I'm like, they're here. I'm not leaving fish to find fish. Yep. Cardinal rule. They're here. I am here. And he's like, oh yeah, awesome. He says, we're going to, he says, I got some friends coming to meet me up. But he's like, we'll stay out of your way. I was like, hey, no worries, man. I go, I know that this body of water gets pummeled, and some days it's shoulder to shoulder. I said, don't worry. I'm not the guy you're going to irritate. That's fine. It's like, I just don't want to get in your way because, you guys can move around out there a lot more than I can. So He goes over and he ends up, one of his friends pops over, Cynthia. I met the two of them, had a nice conversation. So shout out to Mike and Cynthia. I left them Jigs and Big stickers. We were talking about the show, and I told Mike, I said, I'll leave a couple Jigs and Big stickers for you guys on the windshield of your car. So they got those. Hopefully they'll listen to the show. I told them, don't listen to the show at work. You'll lose your job. We're terrible human beings. And that was pretty much it. I went and I decided, I was like, well, I definitely put the work in. I earned myself chips and a soda. So I stopped over at a local gas station and I bumped into one of the bartenders at one of my trivia venues, oddly enough. And I did not realize that she lived in that area. Where I was at. So, of course, I start throwing around a bunch of trash talk about that area, the 283, not realizing I'm in it. And I'm like, oh, shit. So, yeah, anyway, I got my chips and a soda. I came home, then went and did trivia. Trivia was amazing. I saw a good friend of the show, Tim Jacks there.
Timmy.
Yeah, Tim had, I don't know if you know this, Sean, but Tim dabbles a little bit in home brewing. A little bit.
I thought I talked to him about that one trivia night.
Yeah,
briefly.
He dabbles. He brought me in a sample of a Czech Pilsner that he made, and it was absolutely fantastic. He was like, after it's bottled correctly, and all that, like the carbonation is gonna change. Flavor is out of this world. Awesome. It was a very, very nice way to wrap up my night. Coming home and having a home brew. So that was good. Game on Friday was awesome. I mean, trivia all week was really great, but Saturday I woke up with a plan. I figured my wife and I were going to take the day and just hang out, just hit the road, go find some adventure, find something to do. And then she changed her mind and said, I kind of just want to stay in and play video games and hang out with the dogs. And I said, well, if you're doing that, I'm going to go fishing again, thinking exactly where I was at. I'm like, okay, so they weren't biting yesterday. Maybe we've got enough that we've had this up temperature up enough where they've stabilized a little bit and they want to eat now. Spent another 5 hours going between that spot and then one other spot. And that other spot, I saw anglers at both areas, and everybody I crossed paths with, nobody was having any kind of real success at all. In fact, I went without even a nibble on Saturday. Which sucked. Absolutely sucked. Over there, same thing. I went from inline. About the only thing that I didn't throw again was the jerkbait. That was it. I basically stuck to what got bit last time. I'm like, okay, so let's go and figure this out. Nothing over there. Although the second spot I went to has a much, much deeper area. And I was a little surprised, actually. I didn't even get a pickerel bite. I was really surprised. I'm like, I know there's pickerel in these waters. But the quest to break the curse is still on. We're going to make it happen. Spoke with Doug over at the Sportsman Show, and when I explained to him, I was like, "Yeah, I have a little chip on my shoulder with this one body of water." He's like, "Really? You've never caught a fish there?" So apparently he's got a buddy or some family that's got some property with a dock, and he goes, "You're gonna have to come up on the dock and just fish with us over there. It's awesome." He's like, "Even if you don't get bit, it's like you're just relaxing. It's a good time." I'm like, "Oh, trust me, I like that style of fishing for sure." I'm like, but here I am. I consider myself to be a, reasonably decent angler. I'm like, I have to break this body of water. That's the quest. And I really won't be happy until I do it on an artificial presentation. It'll happen. It's going to happen. I just got to keep at it. So
probably be in spring, and then you're going to get a flood of stocker trout. You know what I mean?
I know.
That's when you're going to be shoulder to shoulder at that place.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be ridiculous. But I may, it may be worth it for me, although I'm sure this isn't an original plan. I'm thinking that there's a few spots where I could truck camp right there, and I might do that and just be there first thing. We'll see. It's just, who knows? But yeah, I mean, that about kind of does it as far as like fishing for me goes this week. Only those 2 outings, but it's more than I've had in the last few weeks. I mean, the last handful of weeks have really kind of sucked. Either I've been too busy to get out, or, when we've had decent enough weather, or it's been ridiculous. Like last weekend, I mean, if you think about it, I was talking with one of the fly anglers I bumped into on Saturday. I was like, it's a 50-degree difference. More than that, like a 60-degree difference between the weather we had today on Saturday as it was last Saturday. I'm like, this is crazy.
Dude, it was almost 70 degrees difference because we got up to 60 degrees 2 days after it was negative almost 10.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I'm thinking just that quick transition of so much change in temperature is just fucking up that feed window, what I'm thinking. That bite window is just like pretty much gone. Like they're like, what the fuck's even happening here?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how trout behave with that stuff, but I would guess that second or third day after it was 60, if we were bass fishing, it'd be a different story. Probably pull 1 or 2 out.
Could be, yeah.
Again, we live on this side of the state where pretty much all winter, the guys out east have just been fishing open water.
Yeah.
We're fucked. We've been in no man's land for over a month now, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've had skim ice
and shit.
Yep. And
although, judging by the jig heads, they're out in the Berkshires. There is some ice. So.
There is ice out in the Berkshires. There's some folks that are still getting it out there. Speaking of jig heads, we got a bunch of jig heads in here. What do we have here? So we got Jerry and Jay. Gravy popped in. We got Vidal in the house. We got Chrissy fishing in the house. This is just awesome. This is just fantastic. We got a whole squad in here this morning. Yeah, and Chrissy actually verifies. She goes, plenty of ice up here, still 8+ inches.
Yeah,
that's
I'm not
awesome.
gonna see it this year, but
yeah,
oh well,
yeah, I won't see it out this year either. But which is fine. To be perfectly honest, I definitely see a trip next weekend. I'm bringing the wife to New York for Phantom of the Opera. So I'm not going to get any fishing in next weekend. I was thinking about making a trip out to toward the Cape, Rhode Island, out toward the coast. Find some of those ponds. We'll see. Maybe the week after. Oh, the week afterwards, I'm going to be at Chick.
Yeah.
Oh no, that is 2 weeks afterwards. My God, I know February is a short month, but I'm just plowing through it.
Well, while we're on the topic of what's coming up, I might as well let everybody know I did look up that information you and I were talking about before we came on air.
Yep.
And so next week, so 1 week from today, we're recording right now on the 12th. On the 19th, the Boston Boat Show is going on. I'll be there on the 19th at some point or another. But the whole weekend, the Boston Boat Show is going on. For anybody that's bored in the area, whatever, Three Bells will have a booth. I know a lot of the team will be there, especially the guys from out east. So Ken Wood. I know Ken is. I don't know who else is coming out for that one. But Ken will be out there most of the weekend, and I'll be out there Sunday.
Nice.
Then we have, obviously, the 24th, 25th, 26th for us.
Sportsman
we will be
show.
At the Springfield Sportsman Show at the Big E in West Springfield.
Yep.
And then I will be wrapping up the season with March 24th, 25th, 26th at Mohegan Sun Casino for the Connecticut Hunting and Fishing Show.
Nice.
So
I'll be doing a walkthrough down there as well with Hooks
sweet.
at Hoodlums. Yeah, they're going to have a booth there this year.
Nice. Good. Well, we'll all be down there. We'll party. There's some good food.
Nice.
And should be a good time.
I think it's going to be a good time for sure. So, what? Not even 7 days ago. What? Earlier this week, Monday, before our show even dropped. Yeah. I think it was Monday. I edited the show, uploaded. Everything was cool. Everybody's living their best life. And we got some news that came through the pipeline. And actually, we should say that we kind of, mainly because of your network, we kind of saw that this was happening a little bit. We kind of knew that this was on its way a little bit before anything had really come out. But trying to be the good boys that we are, we kept a lid on it. But now we can't any further because the cat
don't need to.
Yeah, there's no need. I mean, there's no feelings to hurt. You guys have probably heard, especially our listening audience that pays attention to kayak fishing, specifically kayak tournament fishing, that the Kayak Fishing League has the House of No Sir has crumbled. It's fallen. It's gone. In fact, it's so gone. I wanted to get a couple of facts out there, so I did a search on Google to see who else was talking about this, and nobody. Nobody's talking about it. We'll get into our opinions on that. But also, the KFL's website is no more. It ceases to live. Yep. Server cannot be found. Having trouble finding this site. Yeah. Interesting stuff. So the KFL is gone. We have certainly some opinions on it. As some of you guys know, last summer we had gotten involved with the KFL as far as attempting to be their official update, podcast. We started a secondary podcast on the same feed, just another show that we would put out, and that lasted about 6 to 8 weeks, and then we said, "Sorry, we're out." It just wasn't a good fit. We kind of left. I think I don't know if we really ever we left it at a pretty vague, like, yeah, it wasn't working for us type thing, or we didn't agree on certain things, or we left it kind of like, when a band breaks up and they're like, it was creative differences.
Yeah,
wasn't that kind of the out that we took there? We're like, yeah, we were very nice about it.
We handled it professionally.
We did.
They handled it professionally.
They did too.
Got to give them that credit. Yeah, it was just, hey, we're not working together. It's not working out.
Mm-hmm.
I made an analogy to you on the phone this week when we got this news that us, for what we do in this style of this podcast and the content, us doing KFL really came off like Dennis Miller doing Monday Night Football.
Yes, everything great on paper, but
it just wasn't. Just wasn't a fit, and unfortunately, that we had to call it quits. We called it quits, and then a lot of stuff happened after that. And even before that, which I think we're going to get into in segment 2, right?
Yeah.
I realized too, I should be talking about history for this too, because my name came up in this
a bunch,
a lot before Jigs and Bigs did.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll talk about that next segment.
Yeah.
But yeah. R.I.P. KFL.
Yeah, it's officially gone. For those that there is some information that you can get on the breakdown. The general gist of it seems as if there were some shady dealings happening at the top level with some other individuals that were there, specifically one angler, Steve O'Brien, whose name has come up a lot. Just doing some shady shit as far as making deals and, things that he's kind of known for, like representing himself as where he has no business doing so. Like a lot of folks don't realize that guy offered me Greg Noser's job when he was not in the position to do so.
Yeah.
Like quite literally was like,
"Hey, man, you should be the host of the KFL's live streams, man. It would be awesome. We have millions of viewers."
And anybody with a sane brain was like,
No, you don't. You just don't.
That's a lie.
That number of viewers got thrown around an awful lot.
Yeah.
It just wasn't playing out anywhere visible that we can see it. Hey, you know what? While we're on break, I'm going to look something up and see if I can find some shit. But you want to take a quick break and we'll come back and have our little autopsy here with what our point of view is on this.
Let's go ahead and do that, guys. We're going to come back. We will take a short little pause and come back, and we'll dive into some of the details here, share our information on our feedback and our opinions about the KFL. And we have been very, very critical of the KFL off air. And now I think it's time to share all that stuff and kind of have this conversation, because somebody may pick up the reins. And I think that hopefully they can take whatever everybody has to say for their opinions into account to try to better the product, potentially. We'll take a short break. We'll talk more about this stuff later, guys. Don't go too far. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yakutak, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torres. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBIGS10 at checkout. Visit Torrege.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks. Alrighty, guys, we're back. We got more Jigs and Bigs goodness for you. We're going to dive into our sort of take on what's going on with the KFL. You know, the KFL has fallen. It ceases to exist as the way it did previously, and we're gonna I think Sean makes a really good point coming out of last segment with going through some history. Let's go and talk about it from our beginnings into it. So go ahead, Sean. This started initially with you directly.
Well, yeah, I mean, with as far as Jigs and Bigs involvement goes, yeah. So what I do want to say first before I get started, we talked about making sure that this was from our perspective.
Yeah.
There's not too many reviews on this demise of the KFL at all.
No,
because we'll get into that in a little bit. But when I think I knew it was coming for a couple months, but last week John Ferreira and Ken Wood did their breakdown podcast, and they covered it from their perspective. So this is these two pieces should be companions to each other, because obviously Ken is my director for MAKB, and we are partnered up with Three Bells, so we've heard some things here and there about the KFL over the past year, but when we first got wind of it, I mean, the show had just started. We were about a year in. This KFL thing was coming up, and it was still small enough that we heard all of our stuff through pretty much Ken and the Mass Maulers.
Pretty much.
I mean, I'm sure we could go back and look at our segments that year. So not 2022, but 21, as they were kind of progressing on stuff. I think we mentioned them every now and again, and they ended up winning the championship that year.
Yeah.
So in between 21 and 22, I got message from two team captains, one of which was, or two team owners, one of which was the the Granite State Sticks, which was owned by Steve O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at that point, I think the local community was aware. Now, I had some interaction with Steve, and luckily for me, nothing financial or super negative, but you start hearing a lot of his name coming up in a lot of negative situations, and to the point where I think a lot of local and regional trails have actually banned him from fishing. Which is pretty fucked up. So again, I just kind of said, all right, Steve might not be something for me or the show. And he had offered a spot on the Granite State Sticks. I said, no, I'm good. I am all set, because really when it came down to it had nothing to do with him. It was the format and the stress on the anglers.
Yes.
Right. I think the format itself for the KFL was set up with great intentions. So it was like an NFL style format.
Yep.
You got your divisions. They're all regional, or as regional as they could be.
Mm-hmm.
You come out of your region, you go to the playoffs, and it's all home games, which is fucking great. That's like the NBA, you win home field advantage, you're there. Keep that in mind for a little bit, because I'm going to come back to that. So the Maulers, again, the first year, they ended up running the table, won the whole shebang, did great. And then all of a sudden around us in New England, it seemed like there was an arms race. You know what I mean? For people to get on different teams. So I think it started with what? The Maulers and the Maniacs were there in the first year, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden in New England, Rhode Island was there too. Rhode Island, Maine, and Massachusetts had teams in the first year. And if I forget, I don't care. There might be more.
Yeah.
But then going to year 2, all of a sudden we had a second Massachusetts team, a Connecticut team, a New York team, and the New Hampshire team.
Yep.
So in our area, it doubled. Okay. I think a lot of people saw dollar signs when they realized the Maulers won it. Now, with the Maulers, I mean, really, that's a New England super team.
It really is. Yeah.
I don't think that's saying anything out of line.
No.
I mean, you've got Brundle, you got Conant, Ken, Ferreira, DeDeo. I mean, it's just.
I mean, put it this way: the Maulers were owned by Derek Brundle.
Yep.
That speaks volumes when you look at the level of angler that he is, and then you put him in the circle of the anglers that are around him. Matt Conan and Ken Wood, and you start to see what is basically Team USA at the Olympics in what was it, 96? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you kind of start seeing it for what it is. And I think you're 100% right. I think that a lot of people saw this as like, wow, holy shit, this could be good for the Northeast, and saw dollar signs and got very interested, hoping that it was going to turn into something huge and very profitable. Yeah. And one thing, the other team I want to mention that I got asked to be on, which again, very grateful. I got asked to be on the Bay State Attack because for 2021, I had that great run in the knockout series where I went through a number of the Maulers one-on-one. Yeah.
So that apparently put my name on a radar.
Sure.
And the format, let's really look at the format here.
Yeah.
What they're asking the anglers to do. So there's home and away games, which is actually a neat concept.
Yeah.
So when you pick a home field, there's some things you have to keep in mind. You have to keep in mind that you should be someplace with signal because this is supposed to be live streamed. More on that later.
Yes. Lots more on that later.
You should pick a place where, you're showcasing the KFL, and it's not like, if you can avoid fishing a place with dinks, you're going to try.
Yep.
And there was some play I found, which I actually thought was kind of a good idea, where it's still up to each team to investigate the legal launches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's home field advantage, right? I thought that was a great idea. Yeah. That got abused in season 1 or season 2 by numerous teams.
Yeah.
But, and it was a team format. So finally, instead of certain other organizations that are supposedly with hosting singles tournaments, you've got a place where you can get together and share information with 3 other guys in the water and get out there and kill it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that was a good thing.
Makes it unique and makes it. I also, when I remember having Greg on the show, and he had mentioned, he was like, "This is it creates a name or a brand that folks can root for."
Yeah.
You know, in their area, and I'm all about that. I think that is fantastic.
Exactly. Some of the downfalls, obviously, the biggest one is, and no one ever wants to talk about this, and I'm just going to get a little. I'm gonna zoom out.
Zoom out.
One of my favorite.
Zoom out.
One of my favorite comedians says, "We're going to zoom out here." This goes for anyone who's thinking about making fishing into a career. As far as tournament fishing, if you're in tournaments, no matter how good you are, it is the equivalent of playing poker with your friends.
Yeah.
It's just, are you playing poker at your house? Or are you taking a trip to Vegas or Atlantic City to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. For a lot of people, that's not steady income. Okay. When you're talking about sponsorships, sponsors don't give a fuck how many fish you catch. They give a fuck how many of their products you sell. So you're not really a professional fisherman. You're a marketer.
Yeah.
You're a marketer.
And, you know, I mean, let's just back up a little bit here, that like, this isn't something that somebody created with a nefarious sort of back end of this, but this is just something that naturally your sponsors, the people who are financing this endeavor, this is something that they want to see because they want to be moving products. They're not giving you money because they love the name of your team or, you know, the people that are on it. What they want to, they're in business to make money. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
I think there's a disconnect with, and again, we're zoomed out here outside the KFL, but I think there's a general disconnect.
That doesn't make any fucking sense.
It does not make any fucking sense. Again, it's the underwear gnomes. A lot of anglers think catch fish, step 2, step 3 is sponsors. No, you have to do something.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fish in the Sticks just put up pro equals promotion. Yes, it is not professional. It's promotion.
And that's not a negative thing. Like,
no, it's not.
Because you're promoting something does not make it inherently bad. Like, there's this idea that you're like, oh, you're getting paid. That's why you're you know, talking about this brand of whatever.
Oh, you get all your baits for free, man. They just give them to you. That's why you get all the...
There's nothing wrong with that. That's how business is done.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
It's true. Bill Dance did it.
Yeah. Focusing back in, zooming back in on the KFL, what was being asked of anglers was you have to go out and get sponsorships.
Yeah.
Because, and this was a good idea. The KFL didn't want people going out and having to spend, you know, $7,000-8,000 on travel.
Yeah.
There were no fees, I don't believe, other than the initial. So it wasn't like a tournament by tournament fee like we normally pay event by event.
But there also wasn't a payout either.
Yeah. For the first year, the only payout was if you won, or I think there was a smaller payout for second place. Am I right on that?
Possibly.
Either way, it was irrelevant.
Still, it was at the end of the season. You know?
So you were going through this whole season with no replenishing your funds. Like I can tell you as a local, I don't know, moderately successful tournament angler, my funds replenish over the course of the year because I pick up a win here or a third place here. You know what I mean? Like it helps.
Yeah.
And I don't even consider the cost of gas, food, lodging. I leave that alone because, again, this is a hobby.
Yeah.
All right. I think you and I are doing this, and we have partnerships here and there. Again, it's with people that we trust and we like, and we use their products. That's why we have so few.
Yeah.
You know,
it's true.
It's just for us, it's organic. So like everyone's heard it. I love Naqua and I love going to Three Bells. I do. And I recommend everyone go to Three Bells. And if Naqua's the right product for you, use it. I understand with trolling motors, it might not be. I get it. Like, I'm realistic.
Yeah.
I also get that if you're in Nebraska, maybe Three Bells might not be the place for you because you can't get down there and try a kayak.
Yeah.
You can't take advantage of the customer service. And I say take advantage because locally we can.
We can.
If something goes wrong, we are a phone call and a quick drive away from getting our problem solved. And that's what Lauren does down there.
Yeah.
Like, she is the best at it. I cannot tell you how many times I've said, even MAKB customers that, MAKB guys that aren't initial customers, but they might have a model that Three Bells carries. Like, oh shit, I had a problem with my prop drive or my pedal drive. Here's Lauren's number. Tell her I told you to call. And then it's solved within a fucking week.
Yeah.
But still, we at Jigs and Bigs, we do a minor amount of marketing with our partners. We do it. I just did it. All I do is tell the truth. I just did it.
It just happened. And you didn't sell your soul to anybody.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like, there's nothing wrong with sponsorships and marketing, guys. Nothing.
Exactly.
You know?
But that's the thing. People, I think most of the competitive fishermen, once you start talking to them, they have no concept that you actually, this is a part-time job. It's a part-time fucking job. And it's not fishing. For sure. It's marketing. It's Instagram. It's doing a podcast. It's whatever, but you're doing that. So anyways, sponsorships were, I don't know if the term is required, but they were necessary at the KFL to offset all these costs for the anglers, because through a whole season, wasn't Michigan in the Northeast Division?
Yes.
And so was Massachusetts. So that was home and away games.
That was a big issue because, and that's what I wanted to bring up was like, it's, you know, we talk about like a lot of these competitive anglers that they want that travel experience, but for when you're doing it, you know, when you're entering into one major tournament at a major lake, and you know, that you could chalk up to just being like a weekend away. You know what I mean? Like, you're going out and you're competing and you're fishing and you're doing all this, but that's one trip. If you have to do this 4 times in a year, and you're talking about lodging for what, 4 guys at minimum, and you know, 4 guys, you're talking about the travel for all those 4 to go out there, and it's like, really, you have to assume you can carry 1 or 2 kayaks per vehicle. Well, if you have a trailer like Sean, like you're using, you could probably bring the whole teams, but then you got to buy the trailer to do that. And how's that going to happen? Sponsorships are going to make that happen. That's what it's all about. And like, that cost is insane to chalk up for any kind of an angler that's entering in a tournament where there isn't a payout. We won, part. But we still have a bill.
You want to talk high stakes gambling?
Yeah,
KFL was it.
And like there is this facade that professional anglers, and when I say professional anglers, I'm talking about elite level. Like, they're just rolling in money. Hey, some of these folks are great at marketing and they have a regular paycheck coming in from their sponsors. That's work. But they're not making their living off. Oftentimes they're just paying off past debts to get there if they're winning big. You know, and there's a lot of speculation. People say, oh, yeah, you do all this and then you only break even. It's like, you might not even break even. You might still be a few $1,000s in debt.
Exactly.
You know, and it's like, and if that's your career and you're doing that, like, this is a lot. So my hat goes off to every single angler that was a part of the KFL, because like they went for it. They saw the potential that this could have. And unfortunately for them, the execution was just garbage. Yeah.
So like I said, I mean, year 1, I got asked a couple teams. We kept an eye on it. Or excuse me, year 2, I got asked. We obviously kept an eye on it year 1. Yep. Year 2, I got asked for a couple teams. And I turned it down for that reason of not only
the expense and the time primarily, right?
The expense and the time, but we're in the division. We're in the same fucking division as the Maulers.
Yeah.
And there's few payouts. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Like, I try to gamble smartly, you know, with at least some brain in my head with chances.
Yeah.
You're in the division with that team. What is going to fucking happen? And it's not going to be good.
No.
Like, no matter what, you put those guys on any body of water, they're going to do really well.
Yeah.
And that proved out over 2 years.
It did, for sure.
So yeah, I left it alone. I actually kept that quiet. I haven't even talked about that. Have I mentioned that before on the show? I don't think I have.
No, I don't think so.
If I did, it was in passing.
Yeah.
But there's the 2 teams I got asked to join. And again, thank you for asking. I'm honored. I'm flattered that someone thought I could hang. That's cool. But no, the format was wrong. So KFL, got during the preseason of last year, we got involved.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, do you remember how this? It was one of the directors for KFL was a fan of the show, correct?
I believe it was the owner of the Tennessee Titans, the original owner of the Tennessee Titans.
Shiners.
Titans,
Titans of the football team.
Again, it's early. The Shiners, I believe it was the owner of the Shiners that was a listener of the show. And it happened to all kind of work out where we had Greg on the show. And I don't know if that was as a suggestion that came through either Lauren or there was a conversation somehow where it came up and we had reached out to Greg, or Greg had contacted us, and I said, sure, let's have you on. And he had, and I would love to be able to go back and find the messages to go and know who contacted whom or how it all played out, but I can't.
Because Greg deleted his Facebook.
So I can't, unfortunately. And your boy's a little old, so he doesn't exactly remember all the details. But where was the connection? We had Greg on because, and at that time, just so everybody's clear where my head was at, I gave zero fucks about the KFL. I truly...
Both of us did.
Absolutely. But just purely as like a spectator, like... They did not have, I saw the execution and I was like, God, this has so much more potential and it's not being done the right way. And it frustrated me as somebody who had some production experience behind me,
Well, for somebody who hasn't any idea of what's going on with this, talk a little bit about that, because I think you had a lot of viewpoints that I didn't even think about with the technological side of stuff.
So
hit it.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to say this here. If you're trying to create something on a professional level, you need to understand one thing. Live streaming is lazy. Okay. And when I say that, I'm talking about the way that you professionally would live stream an event over something is with a dedicated wired internet connection. And you wouldn't be doing it from your phone. And you wouldn't be just switching various phones here and there. You're never going to get the professional outcome you think you are. And I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people live stream because they don't want to take the time to edit. So they figure, we'll just do it live. Yeah, we'll just do it live. It's live. It's live. It's live. Well, hey, guess what? Shit hits the fan and shit gets boring. So let's trim the fat. I have gone and looked at a lot of the numbers of some of the past live streams on places where they put them on Facebook and on YouTube. And I've always been met when I've combated that, but there's only you're talking maybe a couple thousand people that are watching this. That's nothing. Is that enough for that sponsor? What is it? Is it that it's not enough people paying attention for that? Maybe you need to streamline this and ditch that idea of a live stream for the entire tournament, and bouncing from different events to different events to maybe just putting together a highlight reel, a show that runs for 60 minutes every week, breaking down everything with the video footage and some feedback afterwards, both pre-game interviews, post-game interviews, interviews with the rest of the team giving feedback about bodies of water. You could create something that's much more entertaining and much more engaging. And then guess what? You've got a product. And I want to jump in here because Gravy goes, editing sucks.
I was just going to ask.
Yes. You know what, Gravy? Editing does suck. It does suck. But it's not that difficult once you get it started and you start to learn a little bit about it. And if you're going to put something forward that's professional, you would never go to a theater to watch a movie that's never been finished, right?
Correct.
You wouldn't do that because you're just random footage. They break a take and then there's random talking. It doesn't make any sense. No movie theater would put that in their room. You know what I mean?
It doesn't make any fucking sense.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. And that's my thing. So the idea of a team tournament where you can root for your local teams or pick your favorites from around the country and just, create this spectator sport, which is really what it was. This is a niche within a niche of fishing, kayak tournament bass fishing. Yes, it's very small. So you really have to captivate that entire audience of people. And there have been people in the past that have been critical of KFL, fairly or otherwise. I'm not the first person to be saying this, but I will say, I do. I think that that live stream format was a cop-out from the beginning, basically putting the weight of all the production on the cell towers, pretty much.
Yep.
And, you know, I mean, then there's other issues too that we will get to. The fact that you have tournament anglers in here. These are guys that essentially just want to be paid to fish. And what I mean by that is if they win, they want a payout. You know, so you would have some of these events on the same waters as other large scale tournaments. And of course, these anglers would double dip. But then there was a conflict of the rules where you have one group where the entire point is team play, and then another one where you're supposed to be solo, an individual angler.
We can get into that because really, up to last year, we'll just go ahead and throw KBF under the bus too here.
Yeah.
Up to last year, KBF had no rules about team fishing. Now they do.
Yeah.
All right. So if we remember, I went up to Champlain where there was it was KBF tournament, I believe.
Yep.
I don't think it was EKF. I think it was KBF.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew there was at least one, if not two, KFL matchups going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's when I said to Nelson and Jerry, like, we cannot survive alone against teams. Send texts. What? I don't give a fuck. There's no rule against it. Why not? Now KBF has
changed that,
modified things.
And I think I think that they probably would never think that they have to put that in the rules. Just based on the fact that everybody pays their fee, and it's one of those things. I think that's one of these things where, like, obviously now it's so blatant. Like, yes, it has to be said. You know,
well, and
it probably should have been said from the get-go.
Yeah, after listening to Ken on the breakdown a few times, and other plays, and talking to him, this is not a new problem. They've just turned a blind eye.
Yes, exactly.
KBF didn't give a shit. They just wanted people in, and if the same 10 people won because they were talking on the water, fuck it, who cares?
Yep, exactly.
It's whatever. But
Chrissy Fishing jumps in here. She goes, "Yeah, I couldn't deal with the amount of talking on the KFL live stream. It was too boring for me." I'm with you.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes. Take it away.
So aside from the anglers supposedly be communicating with the folks that were doing the commentary, each team was supposed to have a commentator provided of their own.
Yep. Someone from the team that wasn't fishing.
Yeah, which is great if you're professional like the Maulers. You know, if Derek wasn't fishing, he'd be talking, "Hey, Nate does this," or whatever. And I'm guessing, because guess what? I think I got 5 minutes into one KFL broadcast and said, I can't do this.
Yep.
And then that professionalism was not carried out because there was like somebody's drunk uncle on a couch one day scratching his balls. That's what the commentary was. Wasn't
there a guy on a toilet at some point?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm gonna because it happened. You can't see it because they fucking deleted it. But one of these guys was straight up having a domestic dispute with his spouse right there, and it was. I mean, cringe is not even the right word. Not even the right word. It was just, and there was some other shit that fell out. We never talked about out of respect for that situation because we didn't feel like it was our place. But the reality of it was, man, what kind of a fucking organization are you running over where this is the quality of the product? Because let's be honest here. The product isn't even the KFL teams. The KFL teams are owned independently and they're their own groups. That's one thing. But like the KFL is it as a whole, and what the KFL does is that broadcast. And if that's the best quality of your broadcast, I can't believe it didn't fall apart then.
Yeah.
That was about the point where I was with our recap show where I was like,
Yeah, well, we get into the recap show in a second.
Yeah,
too, but as far as that goes, the incident in the toilet, somebody left their phone on, went to take a shit, and was broadcasting taking a shit until it got taken down, and then management went ahead and made T-shirts of that guy on the shitter from his screenshots, and we're selling the T-shirts. So it started at the top. Also, the conflict of interest too. The owner of the league was also the owner of a team and a player.
Major conflict of interest.
That's bad.
Yep.
That's really bad. So when you and I got involved, I lost a day of my week every week, excuse me, going through KFL stuff because it was summertime and I was fishing on Saturday. So I would have to go through on Sunday.
Yep.
We'd have to record a piece. You had to edit it. I had to do all the production aside from the editing. So that was my baby. And for all the dick jokes and fart jokes, I own that. That's what we own, though. That's Jigs and Bigs. That's our style. We're not asking Picasso to fucking do some 3D printing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We dabble in dick and fart jokes. Like an artist paints in a
Let's go ahead and say this too. So we back up. We had Greg on the podcast, and I think within a week of that time, Greg reached out to me and said, "Hey, how would you feel? The feedback I'm getting on the podcast is fantastic. How would you feel about being the official podcast of the KFL?" Now, yes. I don't know if anybody knew this or not, but the KFL does have their own podcast, and I think they did this after we jumped ship. I'm sure that's going to get deleted too. So go ahead and give it a listen if you want before it does. But he had reached out and said, "Oh, are you interested in being the official podcast?" And I muted my phone because I exploded in fucking laughter at this point. You know, I was like, okay. I said, "Well, what do you have in mind?" And I wanted to see what he said. And the only reason why I went for it is because, one, he never mentioned a contract, and he never mentioned any times that were strict on, we're going to do it for this, which told me we could get in and get out if we wanted to. I knew we weren't going to be in this for the long haul. I gave it my all. I did what I could do to make this happen. I did what Bobby Roast Beef does. And I put my all into this show, but I saw the work you were putting into this, Sean, on your end, because you really wanted this to shine. I had more of a different take. With me, if this league was being operated like the polished turd that it was, you know, aside, again, like, no disrespect to any of the teams or anglers that are out there, you guys are amazing. You were unfortunately, I think, and wrongly duped into believing that like this was something that it just wasn't, and it certainly was not quality. So,
and it certainly didn't have the thousands and millions of watches and listens that were being promised.
Yeah, way.
Just because I have this link up, so this is I just typed in Kayak Fishing League KFL, right? Yep. So they still have a page up on YouTube, right? 53 subscribers, good for them.
I just want to throw. Okay, go on.
Videos. There's only one video up. I just had a whole list. Where'd that go?
Maybe
they're in the process of deleting it.
I just want to throw this out there. So you're saying there's 53 subscribers to the KFL YouTube channel? Correct. You realize that I would say relatively small time YouTube channel. Like
Bobby, let me take that back. I apologize.
Okay.
There were 365.
Oh, 365.
Yeah. Well, I was 20%. I was giving them 20% credit.
365 subscribers on the KFL YouTube channel.
Nationwide.
Across the entire country. I mean, not technically worldwide, because we're talking about the internet, and that's the thing. The internet is not a nationwide thing. Like, people could watch this from all over the world if they wanted. Yep. So 365 of those. You realize that a small YouTube channel like Swamp Rat Fishing has over 1,000 subs.
Yeah.
And he's not doing any more work on his channel than Greg has the ability to with that channel. Why is that channel not succeeding more? Now, I know that you and I know that we've brought this up multiple times. Like, where are the views? Like, I'm looking at like their Facebook channel, and it seems I would mention YouTube, and it's like, yeah, well, most people are watching on Facebook. Yeah, the championship game has the championship game has 37 reactions, likes or laughs or hearts or whatever. 37. It has 173 comments. That is it. It is 7 hours long.
Yeah, it was too long. Here's what I'm looking at, right?
Yeah.
So let me run through this real quick. This is their KFL channel on YouTube. I'm just going to go video by video.
Yep.
This is number of views, okay? Number of views. 52, 27, 12, 29, 20, 35, 58, 58, 40, 40. 95 and 20. And the 95 was the schedule release. Okay, so there's that. Now, oftentimes it's been said, oh, but it also runs on, what is it? Is it My Outdoor TV? The channel that it was Greg owned the channel. It was
no. That was Motive Entertainment. That was different.
Motion Sports.
Motion Sports. This is a channel that I believe is on Roku. So if you subscribe to that channel, you could watch the KFL stuff there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are doing that? This is what they would say are the millions.
Yeah.
I don't buy it, guys. I don't buy it.
Look, I'm just looking at something. I had a number jump out to me. All right. So the Florida Copperheads apparently were involved in a video. Oh, it was Feel Free Kayaks. Put a video up.
Yep.
What is the KFL with the team Florida Copperheads? Congratulations. You got 1.4K views. But that is not a KFL video. That's a Feel Free. Next up, 374 views 5 months ago. Whoever the hell J.L. Scott Fishing and Eats is. So I don't know, Fishing and Eats. He sounds like he's right up our alley.
Right up our alley. Yeah.
All right. It's titled KFL, Kayak Fishing League on Brink of Total Collapse, Part 1. A promising league without direction. I would say it's a little deeper than that, but
yeah,
he's
scratching the surface right there.
So right off the bat, you're getting involved in this. You're not getting any payout. You're not getting any payouts.
Yep.
All right. You're gambling with whatever money that you're getting from sponsors. Okay. You're gonna have to take time off work if you're not retired.
Yep.
This is a huge time and money drain for what? What is the point? Is it just say, hey, our team's better than yours? That's great, dude. Do that. There's other ways to do that. I think people get, again, particularly competitive anglers get sucked into these dollar signs.
Yeah.
And there's no breaks, none.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have to do this. I don't get it. So there were no viewers, right? The numbers were completely fucked. Were they? I mean. Oh, my God. You want to hit that?
I do. Jay Manning chimes in. He says, don't forget Twitter plus 25 followers there. They do add up.
Yeah, I'm sure that none of them are double dipping on different forms of media.
And he makes a great comment here. He says, KFL was the XFL of fishing, and he's 100% right. Actually,
you know what?
It's somehow a little bit less professional than the XFL.
I would, just because I know between the wrestling and the NFL stuff.
Yep.
Different apples and oranges.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I know.
XFL was trying to supplement something.
Yes.
This at least wasn't its own direction.
It was its own new thing. No, I'll give it that. I will 100% give it that. Like I said, the idea behind what the KFL started with was a great idea. It was 100% execution and management that was the swirling around the toilet bowl that ultimately ended up.
Yeah, it was bad. So let's pick up where we left off. We were doing the show. I was killing myself for a day out of a weekend where we had to do it, and then I was handing the ball to you, and you were killing yourself for another few hours editing this show. And we were getting hammered on our own views. Like that was the other thing that really pissed me off, was that we had gotten to a point where we had reached a new crescendo shortly after our 100th episode. We had reached this new peak where our average, because that's kind of what we like to follow our progress on, is the average listeners within a 7-day period. When we launch a brand new episode, that number drops. The issue was we expected it to drop. Launching 2 new episodes a week, even more, but dropping as much as it did and then taking forever to start climbing back up to, we only finally got back to where we were when we first started with that first episode of the KFL recap. Like last week, right? It was within the last 3 weeks. We finally hit it. Yeah, so, you guys know we have that metric, and we pay attention to that. I ask you about it once every couple of weeks. How are we doing with this episode, that episode, whatever? Yeah. What's our average? We always talk about it. Oh, yeah. And after a couple of weeks of KFL, you were like, dude, this is not good. Yeah. It's not coming up. I feel like it was driving down the regular listeners, because people were and those episodes were not getting the listens in between. I'm going to tell you guys, our episodes get hundreds of listens. Like the top are almost at 1,000 listens, like the most. Those episodes were getting 12, 13 listens. It was, I would see the work that Sean would put in. It would be an additional separate show that I would have to then put together and schedule and organize and then, promote. That was the other end of it too. And I get the partnership that Greg was trying to create there. I get it 100%, but there was nothing that we were going to do that was going to save that show. Or that was going to save that product. numbers weren't there, and it hurt our show's numbers so bad because we initially discussed how this show was going to be put up. We said, well, you decided, well, fuck it, we're going to keep it under the Jigs and Bigs label on
the same stream. Yep, just going to be an additional episode.
It hurt so bad that you had to pull those episodes off, and finally, just last week, and when were we doing this? April, May?
It started in May.
So almost a year it took us just to get our numbers back to where they were. Started.
Yeah.
So that was painful.
And I do think that had I started a separate RSS feed, a separate everything for that KFL recap show, number one, like we probably would only be seeing those listens anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like we would probably only be seeing that same batch of listens anyway. So it just, I mean, I don't think that wouldn't have helped it at all. If anything, we probably would have, because we started strong with like about 100, 150 listens, and then it just dropped, and they were like, yeah, to 12 people listened.
Yep. There we were faced with that. You contacted Greg.
Yep.
Said, hey, we're done. We can't do this anymore. We handled it professionally. We let Lauren at Three Bells know because she was instrumental in this whole process.
Oh, for sure.
They were a sponsor for the KFL, so they needed to know what was going on. And again, we handled it all like adults. But from that point, I mean, I really stopped paying attention to it. But then I was hearing things in our circles, in my circles that I travel in about what was going on. So, I guess we'll just echo. I'm going to briefly cover what Ken covered in the breakdown episode with the O'Brien mess, where something happened with this guy that I think I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because he was taking pictures. I guess he had a problem with Ken prior to this, but now with the KFL and stuff heating up between the Maulers and the Sticks, and Ken and Steve being the owner of the Sticks, there were issues with their tournaments. Then somehow he's driving around at parking spots, taking pictures of Ken's car and posting them online. It got real creepy and real stalkerish real quick.
But
over fucking kayak fishing.
He's got a track record though of just being sketchy in general. Yeah. And he is there was a lot of people in our circle that kind of had raised eyebrows once it came out that he was owner of the Sticks.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with misrepresentation, and Ken talked briefly about this. But we had spoken with again partners of ours that had come up to us and said, "Hey, who's that fucking whatever? Name the brand rep." And we're like, "Who?" Well, he's not a rep as far as we know. So you go around saying he's representing companies like, "Oh, I'm a sales rep for the Northeast or whatever," and he's not. So like there were major red flags. And again, we had already said we're not dealing with any of this.
Yeah.
Then you had gotten into it and said,
did you ever notice he hasn't been on the show?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You were offered the job to broadcast.
Yeah.
Which he had, again, no right to do.
Yeah.
It got sketchy from there. And then there were, again, the incident where he took pictures of Ken's car, threatened him. Mm-hmm. Ken responded on social media.
What about the whole thing with Nate?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well,
let's talk about Ken first.
Yeah, let's get through Ken.
So my understanding was they were both suspended. And apparently O'Brien never told his team why he was suspended. Never told anybody.
Yeah.
Just, I got suspended for something. Never said a word. And Ken was suspended for responding to this shit, which, you know what? I don't blame him, although social media, I probably would have responded with the police, not social media. But that's me.
Exactly.
So that went on, and it became such a problem that he eventually, I guess, was told to relinquish ownership of the Sticks. Now that's pretty bad when you're putting all that money in. You're told you can't do this anymore. You're that much of a black eye for this.
Yeah, that is a big deal.
Yep. Let's jump to Nate real quick and then jump back because I'm going to fast forward a little bit to this year and really the reason why the KFL collapsed. Well, go. You tell the Nate thing.
So Nate, there was I forget all the details. You're going to have to fill me in here, but basically there was this back and forth of Nate, like threats made online and comments that were just ridiculous back and forth. Where I forget what the tournament was, but I believe it had to do with launching. And Nate got to a spot that he had the most northern launch at. Didn't see anybody there.
And by the time he got there, Blackbeard was already there because he had decided to launch from his hotel. I think that was a KBF or Hobie. Might have been Hobie.
Yeah. I don't remember which event it
was. Illegal launch, and Steve dragged the hotel management into it. Like, it was just ridiculous.
It was insane.
And Nate got him disqualified.
Yep.
Which
good.
If you cheat, you get disqualified.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Problem? Yeah. And,
so that was the issue with Nate. There was heat there. So fast forward to this year. Apparently O'Brien had been cleared with a lot of back and forth with the other owners and Greg Noser. And again, this is where the leadership comes in. He was allowed to play but not own any teams. And I want to pause right there because I should have mentioned this a second ago.
Yeah.
When we finished up the KFL, our broadcast, we said we were done. For whatever reason, again, this is management.
Mm-hmm.
I was not taking off any of the group texts.
And it was a while before I was taken off too.
And I'm calling you up going, did you see what the fuck's going on here? So one of the things that I know a few owners are aware of, if you're a KFL owner and you're listening to this, which if you are, sorry. It sucks to have happened to you, but I got to watch this conversation that went like 3 days. And at this point, I'm actually going to back Steve O'Brien on this because he brought up an opinion that was true and right. So in the middle of last year, middle of the season, games were already being played.
Yeah.
Someone threw out a suggestion in the owners group, which I was a part of, which is so bizarre. Someone threw that suggestion out that, hey, you know what? These Northeast teams, we don't want to travel up there.
Yeah.
We don't want to travel up there in the cold. Why don't we just have the championship or why don't we have all the playoffs, the whole slate of playoffs at Chickamauga? That went on for 2 days. And O'Brien, to his credit, amongst this O'Brien session,
insanity,
to his credit, said, we started the season with rules. What the fuck is going on?
Exactly.
And he was right.
Yeah. If you want to change that for the next season, that's a whole separate conversation.
Yep. And then have a vote on it with owners like anybody else. But,
exactly.
So that was wild to watch. Like, in the middle of the season, they were going to tell the owners that have paid all this money in, done all this work for sponsors, hey, we know you have like a 7-1 division record. Fuck you. You've got to travel across the country now for all your playoff games when you're supposed to be at home. That's bullshit. So I remember calling you about that going, are you watching this? This is fucking insane.
Yeah.
And so eventually, after about a month, 2 months, we both got cut off of that. Somebody realized, oh my God, Bobby and Sean are still listening. And to our credit, we didn't say anything about it.
We didn't say shit.
We talked amongst ourselves, said, what a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
So getting back to this year. So now O'Brien apparently had been stripped of ownership, was allowed to compete as a player. And then there was some shenanigans going on between one of the Southern teams, I don't care who, and the Tennessee Shiners had collapsed. All of a sudden, the Tennessee Shiners were back with this massive lineup of two teams, to like the best of these two teams. And they had similarly all the same sponsors as Granite State.
Yes.
So flags were raised, phone calls were made. My understanding was management, instead of saying we have one person who's causing all these problems, did nothing about it. They sat on their hands.
Yep.
And votes were taken, and at least 3 teams dropped out. A week ago?
Yeah.
And after that, the league collapsed. But that's like, no matter what problems were created by any of the team owners or players.
Yep.
All the team owners and all the players are paying with their time and money for management to manage the league.
Oh, for sure.
Management was absolutely not done. These are simple things like, hey, do I want a league where I don't know how much money was coming in for him. He was keeping personally. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But do you want that income, or do you want to not take action against one guy and it's all fucked? Now, Ken had some theories about, who knows who had what info on who, how dirty things were. I don't know. I can't speak to any of that. I don't care.
There was talk about the fact that there were silent owners and things like that. But like, it's so closely knit, and then following the sponsors, it's very easy to see what's going on. And then to see all that unfold in front of you, when you see, you're like, ownership and management is okay with this? Big boo. Big boo right there.
Yeah. I mean, Ken and John said it the other day, and I really I really jumped on this, and I don't know if they said it on purpose or not, but one of them said, this is a small community.
Yep.
It is. So again, dollar signs blinded everybody to think that, okay, so we have anglers in this country.
Mm-hmm.
How many fishing licenses are sold in America, if you want to look that up, Bobby, every year? Or how many were sold in let's see how many were sold in 2022.
2022, right? Yeah.
How many fishing licenses were sold in America, right? Fishing license complete guide. Number of licenses in 2021. All right.
In 2022. Here we go. Let's see what we got.
So I got 21's numbers.
I got 21. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, all right. Oh, look, this is great. So this is from Statista.com.
Statista. Yeah.
All right. No idea what their deal is, but they've got some numbers here. Let's go off this. Let's pretend they're right. So in America, in 2021, there were 39.32 fishing licenses sold.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those people do you think were tournament, whether it's big boat or kayak anglers?
How many do I think? I'd say probably a couple million.
You think even that high?
I would say maybe a couple million. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking more all the small local clubs, big boat and then I'm also looking at the other species too, like, the walleye tournaments and all that stuff, not necessarily just bass, but I'd say a couple million,
Okay. So a couple million are out of those, right? And that's nationwide.
Yep.
All right. So let's just say it's not going to be even just based on numbers. The higher populous states are probably going to have more people fishing, or they're going to be equal to the ones that have fewer people but have bigger fishing communities. Like Minnesota and Massachusetts might sell close to the same number of licenses. Yeah, is my guess. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because we have more people, but Minnesota is a fishing state.
Yeah, it is.
So that happens. All right. Now you're talking out of those, let's say, couple million. How many of those people give a shit about kayak fishing? Because more people know about big boats. Kayak fishing is still way under the radar, and it is growing. And that's what every kayak angler says. Oh, the sport's exploding. It is, especially during the pandemic.
It is.
But not everybody's still out there from the pandemic.
No. And, there's another point to be made here is that a niche of a sport or an activity, any type of a trend, anything, if it's going to be taken to an upper level, like something to be taken seriously, it needs the support and it needs to move forward with the best foot forward possible. This whole thing with the KFL is kind of a big dark mark. Although I say that nobody was fucking watching.
Yeah, so that's
you know what I mean? Nobody gives a shit.
Now we're whittling down to these numbers, like how many people are actually watching. So we're getting back to, we have millions of views. You absolutely don't, because there's not numbers to support that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it. Like, think of Massachusetts. We had 2 teams, 16 people. All right. I can tell you for this, we have a podcast that has been going 3 years, has a decent amount of listens. We're pretty happy with the way things are going. We're constantly increasing. I can't tell you how many of my family members listen to this. None.
Yeah,
none. I don't think any of my so no one cares.
I want to throw this out there because this was a hard pill to swallow for me. Like, I come from a place of, I used to play in local bands all the time, and early on when you start a band, and I was just having this conversation with my youngest daughter who wants to start a band now. I hope she doesn't, but. I remember, you have nobody to promote to other than your immediate friends and family. After they've seen you once or twice, they're good. They don't want to come out and see you again. It becomes tedious. They're going to find other reasons to not be available. So if you're constantly, you have this pool of friends and family, you can yank them for an event one time. Same thing as when I got into hosting my trivia events. Except I did this differently. I went in knowing full well that the people that I was close friends with and my family were not going to be the bread and butter. They were not going to be the people that I had to create an audience. And that's what's important. You need to create an audience that's separate. You have to find that group of people that give a damn about what you're doing and want to support what you're doing and then hope that grows.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. It was mind-boggling where these numbers were coming from.
Yeah.
So yeah, here's where we were. Everything collapsed, and then we started hearing some of the backstory. I mean, I was hearing it a little bit, probably a couple months ago. I think didn't I mention you something like, "Hey, I heard this, and this is crazy, and we'll see what happens." But going forward, it looks like one of the biggest detractors of the KFL, and you know what, rightfully so, they can have their opinion, is the entire KBN, right? The Kayak Bass Network.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep.
So I actually got out of there because I jumped on their Facebook group, saw the content, and said, this is not for me.
Yeah.
And they've been a detractor, but supposedly they are involved with Steve O'Brien about the next version of the KFL, which is the American Fishing League. Is that what I saw?
Yeah. I don't know that it's effectively like that. It's actually taken off yet, or if that's just speculation or what. But I mean, like, so I want to throw this out here because I mean, we're Jigs and Bigs and we do things a certain way here. So we had a conversation literally right before we went live with our jig heads and hit the record button and everything. And we were like, you know, are we going to include an FTG here? Because if there's one of our signature segments that should be here, it's an FTG. And I know a lot of people are thinking, yeah, Steve O'Brien, Blackbeard, fuck that guy. He's terrible. He is. He is. But he was just the catalyst of all of this. I want to say in the ultimate fuck that guy, it's Greg Nosser. I feel like the mismanagement and the shit show going on at the top with KFL, from the quality of the product that they put out and the amount of smoke blown up everybody's ass, as well as the demands put on the anglers to it got kind of catty amongst the anglers in some situations. Like there was some shit on social media that got thrown out there that was kind of crazy, and it was a lot of it had to do with because these anglers were out there, trying to compete. That's all they wanted to do was compete, and it was the entire league was just bullshit, all of it, and now it's kind of crumbled, and who knows what's going to happen. So that's where, if we have an FTG this week, it's Greg.
Yeah. Well, ready for this, just to follow up on that. You know where it's going to go? The next incarnation is going to go nowhere.
Yes.
No, there's no audience. There's none.
Yeah.
There's no fucking audience. That's why, like, I like kayak fishing. I love it. It's my preferred method.
I think it's
fishing.
It's probably your favorite thing on your short list of
realistic. Yeah, I am very realistic that, like, we cover everything we can on Jigs and Bigs. That's why I'm not afraid to go out in the ocean. Yep. I love fishing for pike. So when you get kayak and bass only, it's so small. It's so niche within a niche within a niche. Like, yeah, it's getting bigger. I agree. But going from 500 people that give a shit to 550, when are we ever going to see some sort of a payoff in our lives?
Yeah.
Like, we have to be realistic here. Like, it's a card game.
Yeah.
It's really the card game analogy. Have a good time with your friends. There's obviously ways that, again, getting back to the marketing stuff, there's ways that fishing can be marketed to the fishing crowd.
Definitely.
But, like, if you limit yourself to one thing, fucking good luck. I don't know. I mean, whatever the next incarnation is, it's going to suck too. I mean, take it like this. Like, there was a big stir last year, I think, in the playoffs, where one of the anglers, I forget who, I don't care. Like, you and I had a discussion about that. Well, I'll get into it in a second.
Mm-hmm.
One of the anglers even said on the live stream, who gives a shit? Nobody's watching this. And while they should not have said that, they should have been suspended for that.
Definitely.
Again, no suspension. They weren't wrong.
They were not wrong. For sure, they weren't wrong.
They were an idiot for saying it, but when they did, but they weren't an idiot for saying it. If it makes any sense. I don't know, man. I love fishing. But, like, when you and I come down to it, we love fishing in different ways, and it's different. Like, you always say where it's everything to everyone. Like, this is going to be mildly, I don't think it's going to be that surprising, but, like, I told Ken the other day, I was talking with him. He starts talking about some guy in KBF or something. And I said, I'm sorry, man. I don't know who you're talking about.
Don't know who that is. Yeah.
I don't follow it. I don't care. And then you on occasion will say, hey, Sean, do you ever seen this guy's YouTube channel? And I'm like, no, I don't follow it.
Yeah.
I'm in the sport. I am embedded, at least locally, if not regionally. I do my thing. And I literally don't give a shit about 99.99999% of the shit out there. I just don't. It's not entertaining to me. Going out and fishing is what I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel confident enough in the way I do things. Like very rarely will I check out a new technique or something on YouTube. I might do that, but I'm not going on for the talking heads. I stay away from stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm not involved in that way. There's other ways that I have value in this industry, and it's other ways that the industry has value to me, other than following who I'm competing against, maybe regionally. I don't care. I got to go out on the lake. I got to pre-fish. I got to do it. It has no
it
bearing
doesn't.
To who's
Yeah. I get that. And that's the thing. I think that like, we're even talking about this now with some changes to the show to broaden the reach.
Yeah.
Because when you're trying to grow, like, and this is where I think if there's one thing that I really, really think KFL missed the boat on that they could have improved on, it would have been to just ditch that live stream and take a couple of hours or pay an editor to go and put together a clip show that looks amazing with great graphics, sound effects, everything to make it engaging so that way you had a product you could put in front of people. And, maybe the idea of it being a video is, there's going to be an audience there. Great. But maybe you also have it as a passive form of content, like an audio podcast as well. The same thing. And then just drop that. And then all of that works together. And I think ultimately what you could do is then you could reach out and actually start bringing in income from other sponsors. So you could sponsor the shit out of every element of that media if you had the viewers. And I just don't think that the audience was there. I think that was something that they made a decision that live streaming it and live switching it from this to this was somehow more engaging. And I think that was just a bad call. And I think it was a bad call that I said it before. I think it was made on laziness, not wanting to take the content and filter through it and put something good together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those things. Earlier, Gravy had mentioned that it was easier to follow KFL on Fishing Chaos than it was to follow on the live streams. And I agree, but you're never going to monetize Fishing Chaos, where people are going to follow that. Because you want to talk about the extreme folks that give a shit, the people that are in the sport like you, Sean, you've seen before, like, oh, are you seeing what's going on with this tournament here? Oh my God. In the past, like where we've had friends of ours that have been in an event, oh, holy shit, they're getting their asses hammered,
That's a example. And let's throw a little congrats out to our friend Ryan Nye, who won the 10.
Absolutely. KFL angler as well.
Yeah. So I fucking I was getting stuff on my feed, on my Instagram feed, like, hey, check out the scores. And I'm like, I'm not going on. I don't care. Right.
Yeah.
The reason that I don't care, and I've fucking covered this a million times, is those scores get sandbagged, and it happened again. Somebody sandbagged the fuck out of one of those days.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm not watching this. If you're sandbagging, a real-time scoreboard is dead. That's the equivalent of going out on a golf course and watching the Masters. You're like, oh, Tiger Woods is in first, but we don't know Mickelson's score. Why not? Well, he turned the camera.
He's hiding it.
He's hiding his score.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know how Mickelson did.
Mickelson's over there on the green like, oh, you're never going to know.
Who the fuck is going to watch the Masters when half of the field is not reporting their score?
Yeah.
So what's the point of a real-time scoreboard? What is the point? That kills me.
Yeah.
There was so much wrong with it. And one other thing I forgot to mention too was with that real-time stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there was another event. I think it was God damn it. I can't remember the event, but there was an event where, no communication was allowed
Yeah.
between teams. I don't know if it was an EKF or a KBF. Somebody finally complained. They said, okay, no communication will be allowed on this. And during the event, and I think it was the Sticks, they turned off all their cameras. So now you've got, and I believe it was when we were talking with Greg at the time, and I said, dude, your product is visual.
Yep.
If you are now allowing teams to turn their shit off because they want to fish a KBF event too, now it just screams, hey, guess what? We don't give a fuck about your KFL. Number one, we don't care about your product. We don't care. Number two, we don't care about the KBF rules or whatever EKF rules that are saying we can't fish as a team. We're just going to turn our cameras off and play dumb. Fucking ridiculous.
Sketchy.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I hate to say it, but like I genuinely feel that if you're going to have a team tournament trail of any kind, you either have to take on the burden of choosing water where there are no additional tournaments, so KBF or Hobie or something, it has a tournament going on. You have to avoid that body of water or make a change, or you have to make it so that those memberships are invalid. That you're in order to join and be a part of that team tournament trail, they have to eliminate entering in any of these other tournaments because it fucks up the integrity of both.
Yeah, you know what? Another thing too. There's so much on this, and we should have broke this up into 2 episodes.
We could have.
One of the things. Did you ever see the stats for the anglers per event?
Yeah, I do, and I think we had a conversation about that in Connecticut.
It really bothered me a lot.
Yes, I think I know where you're going with this.
So one of the stats was inches of fish per event, right?
Yep.
So you would see averages per angler of total inches that were more than the team scored that event.
Yep.
So that's the equivalent of saying, hey, the Celtics won the other night, 117 to 90. Oh, great! How did Jaylen Brown do? Well, he scored 157 points. Well, so how does that work? Because they only scored 117, and the rest of the team, did he score all their points?
They're counting those stats. Yeah, they're counting the cold fish.
They were counting culled fish.
Yeah, and that's
ridiculous.
That is everything out. It's just a fluff number. It means nothing.
Yeah, so
it means they caught fish, but they weren't fish that meant anything.
Yeah, I tried to explain this to a couple of people.
I remember this.
I think one of them was Greg, and I was like, "Listen, so when you look at the newspaper or ESPN or CBS Sports, whatever you're looking at, right?
Yeah.
If you see a team that averages like football. Let's say on offense, they're averaging 400 yards a game. All right. You should be able to take that number, multiply it by their number of the games, and come relatively close to the amount of yards they put up all season, because that's math.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you took all of the KFL players and added up all their averages, all right. So it looks like each team is averaging 700 inches an event, but some of them haven't scored 100. What happened? Well, we're just counting the fish that got culled. It doesn't. That's like saying, Jaylen Brown took the ball to the hoop and got blocked. Well, we're going to count that as 2 points anyways because he shot it.
Yeah,
every shot counts as 2 points, whether it goes in or not. It didn't make any sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, exactly. So it doesn't.
There was a lot of things that were going on.
Zoom out.
So we zoomed out. All right, we zoomed out. We zoomed back in. We're zooming out again. I guess I don't ever want to talk about this again.
Yeah, that's why we're kind of doing this, so that we can put the nail in the coffin and then leave it alone
until the next one comes out, and then
we might be a little more critical up front with that one.
Yeah. Well, because hopefully we're not involved, and just again, we're a niche like kayak competitive anglers. 2 things. Number 1, if you want to make money at this shit, you're going to have to get into marketing. Number 2. If you're considering this, it's gambling.
Yep.
And number 3, we are a small niche within a niche within a niche.
Don't let the drama tear it down if you want to see this go anywhere. If you truly want to elevate the sport and grow it and give it some actual like valid presence in this little community in the fishing world, don't tear it down with bullshit and drama and everything else. It's like, no, pull your head out of your ass and put your best foot forward.
And that's the thing too. You've heard me say this, Bobby, with just overall, I'm zooming out again to competitive anglers in general. We have a weird sport where if you share information with what you're doing, no one can see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you share information with them, it might hurt your bottom line, right?
True.
So one of the things that we try to do again with our MAKB and with the expansion that's been going on for 2 years, we try to create that community without any pretense and just transparently.
Yeah.
I just got a message. I didn't tell you this. I'm glad I saved it for the show. I just got a message 2 nights ago. Well, actually, while we were getting ready for the basketball game, I was sitting on the bench and I got a message on Instagram from a guy I served with at my last duty station. And he reached out to me, and at the time he was a younger airman. He's gotten out since, and he's doing his own thing. And he said, dude, I tried the big boat world. A lot of pieces of shit out there. He goes, I listened to the show. So thanks to Ryan Stager. Is it Stager or Stager? I forget. Man, I've talked to him in fucking 6 years. Thanks to Ryan. He reached out to me and said, I've heard about what you're doing on the show, and I know you. He goes, I'm going to get a kayak. Let's get involved. So I'm actually setting up something with him to get some tryouts down at Three Bells.
Nice.
Yep. And I said, yeah, you're welcome. I said, of course, he's already a fisherman. I said, so just be aware, like, you're going to get some information from everybody, but it's a competition. You're going into this.
Yep.
And afterwards we do talk a little shop, but I don't tell everybody exactly what I'm doing or using. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
But I do say, like, hey, I found fish on brush piles, or I found fish shallow, or I found fish deep, nice in general terms, just to give somebody something to think about. And that might or might not fit their style of fishing. But either way, I'm doing this either in the parking lot while we're grilling for everybody, or at a restaurant where we're all getting together afterwards. So we're part of that group. Yeah. Again, the card game mentality. It's not good luck to, I don't know. Personally, I have not met anyone that I know that gave up their job for this.
No.
To do the kayak stuff. I don't know anybody. I know a lot of people that have a lot of partnerships and sponsorships and do their marketing and get whether it's product or financial backing. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, but, for sure.
Realistically, I am lucky and / unlucky enough to be at a place where I am out of the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
I'm retired, and I can do this shit. And when people say growing the sport, what do I do to grow the sport? I make sure that everybody knows they're getting a fair shake, and then afterwards, I'll grab a Diet Pepsi, you grab a beer, let's bullshit.
Yeah,
that's what I do, and I make sure about like I think everybody who's fished MAKB in the West. Yeah. Except for maybe that first tournament we ran, I was really nervous and getting my feet under me as a director. Aside from that.
And I think that comes with anything, but like after you've been doing something for a while, you figure out what works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, that's what I do to grow the sport. Yep. I actually grow the sport by getting anglers involved and keeping them involved. Unlike some of the other tournament trails I've been involved with that come off as a money grab because they are a money grab and they fuck people. I hate that.
You're forgetting though. There's another thing that we both do to grow this sport. We do this show.
We do.
This show at the core is, how many non-anglers have listened to this show that have gone and picked up a rod or started fishing because they're like, oh, this actually seems fun. I kind of get it. Like they sort of like develop it. I think that to me is the best situation when people pick up fishing. I think that's huge. I think we'll go ahead and put a little end cap on this whole KFL debacle. We'll never speak of it again, which is awesome. But in closing, I do just want to say that the people that I really feel really awful for there's two. Not individuals, but two groups of people. First off, are those anglers that got blindsided by this entire thing. I feel terrible for those anglers that this just kind of like, oh shit, they knew something was going on that was shady, but maybe weren't keyed in enough, and all they wanted to do was fish, and now it's all falling apart on them, and Greg is packed up and taking all of his snake oil and left town and all that stuff. I feel bad for them. The other folks are the sponsors. Every single one of those sponsors that shelled money out. And, I don't know the details of how the money went or when it got paid in or anything like that. But man, I feel bad for any single brand that lost product or financial, actual money paid in directly, I feel bad for any of those folks right there, because it is shitty as hell when you go in expecting a 2023 season and the owner of that season is just like,
peace, bitches.
That sucks. So I feel bad for you guys.
The owner says, "Oh, this seems like work."
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, and those sponsors go both on the local level and on the national level for the league itself.
Oh,
and
for sure. Yeah.
Obviously, we are. We share some ground with.
We know some
that.
folks. Yeah,
we know some folks, and it is a shame. And
it is. I feel bad for them. Probably the most, because I feel like they got robbed. Yeah, I do. I feel like that they didn't get what they intended to get out of this, and hopefully, I doubt it. I doubt it, but hopefully the right thing got done, and all that money went back.
I hope so,
because nobody said a word about it yet. So. Yeah.
Maybe that's a good thing.
It could be a good thing. Let's go ahead. We're going to take a real short break, guys. We're going to come back in our next segment here. We got something different to talk about completely. The show's growing, and we have a little announcement about that. Stay tuned. Don't go too far. Much more coming up right after this. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads, and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. Oh my goodness. Thanks for coming back, guys. We appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Again, our listeners are amazing, fantastic, and we kind of mentioned this earlier when we were talking about this whole KFL stuff, and one of the things we talked about was kind of broadening a little bit to sort of like bring in some reach. And I mentioned that we're trying to do that with this show, and we are, some ways, like I'm doing things that I can personally to kind of make it fit, things that work in my narrative. So I'm going out and I'm doing some carp fishing, and I'm out there. I'm sort of working the multi-species still on the bank and in the kayak. And I'm trying to diversify things. I'm also doing the truck camping stuff. So that's all well and good. But I realize that these are like very niche things, especially the overlanding and truck camping thing. It's just an additional spin. But we do understand that we have, in terms of accessibility, almost everybody can bank fish. And in terms of accessibility, most people can afford a kayak. Most people can get into one of these small plastic boats and afford to do that. They make the adjustments to kind of like make it all happen. So that's a big reason why we focus on bank fishing and kayak fishing, is because everybody out there can do it. But when you get into the actual boat world, the big boat world, things start to change. The dollars start to change, and there's a little bit more of a jump there, a little bit more of a gate that you have to go through in order to get to that point. But we feel like overall, like that big boat fishing community, we really haven't been kind of giving enough effort to. So as a little bit of an announcement for this show, coming very soon, and I think we're going to make this announcement at the Springfield Sportsman Show. So the episode that we record at that weekend, we'll be making that announcement. But we're bringing on another co-host, another regular voice that you're going to hear on the show routinely, quite often. And this is somebody that They have been on the show before with more experience in the big boat world, but also not necessarily an expert in the big boat world. It's sort of the perfect fit. They're learning. They're on this journey with their big boat, and we kind of now have the ability to kind of go along for the ride. So we're very glad to have this happen. So at the end of this month, I think it'll be the first episode. And actually, let's take a look at the calendar just so I know exactly what it is that I'm talking about here. So on February the 28th, you guys will find out, because we'll be recording the 24th, 25th, 26th on February. In 2 weeks, you guys will know who this new co-host is on the show, and you can welcome them with open arms. And we're going to do the best that we can to kind of give insight from every aspect, whether it be the bank, the kayak, big boats, whether it be multi-species fishing, who knows? We're going to get into it all. So, and also this includes big boat tournament fishing as well. We're going to start having some feedback there, because we want to kind of widen and invite everybody into the Jigs and Bigs family. A lot of people, I think, kind of think that we almost are exclusively a kayak fishing podcast, and that's not necessarily true. I mean, we do talk a lot about it. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, for good reason too. Like, when it comes to kayaks, it's a whole lot easier to get into that world than it is the big boat world. You can make different adjustments for what it is that you need for a boat to get off of the bank. That's really what it is for a lot of people. It's just getting off of the bank. Oh, let me do something to get off the bank. It's a different animal. There's plenty of folks out there like getting on their big boats and, moving at like 70 miles an hour and scaring the shit out of their passengers, or, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But it's nice that we're going to be able to have some of that good content for you to kind of offer more perspective and have more wider based conversations. I think this will be a really good thing. So that's basically it. That's kind of what I've been holding on to for this week. So a couple of weeks, we'll have a big announcement for you guys, but our new co-host will be joining us on that episode, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be awesome. What do you think, Sean? Where are you? I know you said kind of in jest earlier. You're like, hold on. How did you say it? I think you said like...
I think I was asking if I was being fired.
You were like, am I getting replaced?
No, Sean. Nobody could ever replace you, ever. I think this is one of these things where this is... And let me tell you, when you guys find out who this is the perfect fit.
Yep.
This is the perfect fit. I'm really excited for this. This is going to be fantastic. So if you want a sneak preview of who this person is, come on down to the Springfield Sportsman Show, weekend of the 24th, 25th, and 26th of this month. They'll be in the booth with us periodically here and there. And if you come by anytime, you can see we have a little promo video that's playing, and it'll be at the booth constantly, just looping through with some information about the show, as well as, all kinds of good stuff and some little quick bios with the hosts. And we included our new co-host. So very interesting. It's going to be fun.
Yep. And we will, again, just talking shows too. We will see you, or I will see you guys next week at Boston, stopping at Three Bells booth. Obviously, we'll have the Jigs and Bigs, and Three Bells will be there with us too at the Springfield Sportsman Show at the end of the month. And then in March, I will be down at Mohegan Sun, enjoying the casino and enjoying the show with Three Bells again. So
nice.
I think that's all I got.
Yeah, I'm psyched. I'm planning on going and doing a little bit of a walkthrough. I think I might truck camp that weekend down there.
Ooh, there you go.
Do some night fishing and then go and fish early in the morning, and then just hit the show and then head home. Perfect. Possibly. I don't know. I got to see. I'm pushing the envelope a little bit, I think, with some of this stuff. My wife's like, hey, when are we going out and doing such and such? And then I forget. I'm like, oh, I'm bringing you back to New York City next weekend for your birthday. So, yeah, it's all about management. Proper management.
Decent
yes, sir.
Management.
What's that?
I know. Oh, my goodness. Shit. I think that about does it. Or do we have anything else to go through, Sean?
No, I was just going to say I got basketball practice in a couple hours here, so get me out of here.
Sounds good. I love it, guys. You guys have a great one. We appreciate you so much. You're absolutely amazing. We hope that you had yourself a great time on this little show that we do here, Jigs and Bigs. Remember, if you enjoy the show, by all means, please tell a friend about it. If you think you know somebody that that would be into this show, please go ahead and tell them. Oh, as a matter of fact, you know what? What is it? Is it next week? I think the day that this drops, we're going to have a giveaway winner to announce. Yeah, I had posted a little giveaway. We're going to give away some Tor Edge sunglasses to to 3 of our followers that had reached out. We're going to give a pair to them and a pair for their friend that they tagged in the comments. Let me just double check on the date on that. I'm not 100% sure what the date was that I put. Oh, yeah, here we go. This is going to be good. Winners will be announced, on the 14th on Valentine's Day. Yeah, so make sure to, you guys will be hearing this on the 14th, so it doesn't matter. So we will, we'll have our winners, announced on the 14th on Instagram. So make sure to go and enter, or hopefully you've entered is what I mean to say. God, I'm a mess. I need another cup of coffee, Sean. I need another goddamn cup of coffee.
Have 2.
I am going to have 2. And then I think it's also time for a 1906 Bliss tablet as well to start my weekend. Guys, I hope you have yourself a great one. The weather is fucking insane in New England right now. If you have open water or you have safe ice and you're getting on some fish, we've had some folks tag us in their pics. Please tag us. Let us know what you've been experiencing, guys, and hopefully you're getting on them. I sure as hell haven't, and hopefully that's going to change, especially with one little river that I've got a bone to pick with. You guys have yourself a great one. We'll see you 7 days. More Jigs and Bigs goodness.
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.